Shalom and welcome. You are listening to Dinim Live on Thursday nights, Israel time, with Rabbi David Katz. This is class number 26. Yud Hey Vav Hey, everybody. Forgot about that. Thank you, Justin B., for reminding me. And Jacques, are you with us actually here? Are you, Jacques and Addo, are you guys actually here? Hello. We'll speak in Pig Latin code. Erige Eddie Ray on Ebsite way. Do you cop that? We have an estimated time of arrival for Get Soul Strong Yeshiva. God willing, no promises, but God willing, by the end of March or sooner. Everyone give a big round of applause for that little information right there. Gary has found the guy, and he's got a proposal in, and he sees it as a 2-week job. So big mazel tov for those working hard behind the scenes. We won't repeat any of this because we don't want to give an ayin hara, but we do have a little bit of good news to report. John Pring, I see you commenting here. Did you meet with your rabbi yet? Quick 1 or 2 on that. Yes, no, hey. 1, 2, 1, 2. John Pring. Yes, no, no, yes, 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 no, no. No. All right, let me know when you do. I want to know how that goes. All right, class 26. We talked about the Noahide ideology. Did you guys spread that link around? And smear it all over the Noahide venues? Jacques, talking to you specifically. Did anybody comment or give feedback on that? That was a strong class. Anything? I figured. Well, so here we go. We did the Noahide deal last time, and one can say that I owe you the Ger. The Ger version. Is that right? All right. So type 1 or 2 if you read today's blog post on my new blog. Anyone? I have a new blog, if you haven't noticed. And Jacques and Russell are in charge of posting it on Facebook. And I want everyone to read this link. This is the blog post. Maybe I'll read it to the group. Ready? You guys ready for this? We talked about the Noahide ideology, and we're not going to rehash that. And this week I owe you the Ger ideology. Is that correct? 1 or 2. Hello. Come on. Hello. 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 Yes. 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 Okay. I'm going to sit nicely in my computer and read you all a story. Would you guys like for me to read you a story? Anyone? Story time with Rabbi Katz. Or better yet, yeah. All right. Let's go. All right. The blog post is called Do We Make Gerim? Once upon a time, there was a mitzvah to make gerim. Actually, it says the mitzvah to make gerim. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why did I write that? The mitzvah to make gerim question. Okay, I guess you could say it like that. The mitzvah to make gerim question. Is it allowed to go beyond our obligation to make Akum into Noahides? Reference to Rambam, Hilchos Malachim, chapter 8, 10, and 11. And bring advanced B'nai Noach into a halachic reality of having a din shel ger toishiv, while refraining from entering into a status of ger toishiv gamor, which is exclusively reserved for a time of Jubilee. Type 1 if you understand the question. All right. Everybody, come on. Not just that. Oh, there you go. John, we're asking, can we make Ger from the classic Noahide ideology? Can we upgrade Noahides into Ger? Are you with me? In other words, can we make Gerim when and where appropriate, going beyond our duty of forcefully spreading the 7 laws of Noach to the nations? Taisvis of Masechta Avodah Zarah 20a says the following in regards to the need to give the nevela to the Ger Toshev, specifically before selling to a Nachri. In regards to one's ability to misconceive in thinking that we are to convert the Ger Toshev in order that he should take heart and completely convert. The Achrayim argue this point, and at the end of this sugya, we will arrive to the conclusion that there is a clear mitzvah to make Gerim. I.e., in giving the nevela, we would say don't give nevela because we want you to convert. We want to make converts. What is the Torah teaching? We're not making converts, and we want you to have the nevela. If you want to convert, you'll convert. But there's no reason to stay an Akum idolater. So the mitzvah of nevela is an active mitzvah of making Gerim even today, and there's no need to convert. That because it is a mitzvah to make efforts to make Gerim, and behold, there is a contrary position in the name of Rabbi Chelbo. Yevamis 47b, Gerim are harsh like overgrowth or skin disease. And behold, in Psachim 87b, it says, Rabbi Elazar says that God only sent Israel into exile among the nations in order to accumulate Gerim upon them. It is implied from this that there is a hint of a mitzvah to make efforts to receive Gerim, non-Jewish and convert Gerim, i.e. making Gerim that are not converts, not Jewish. And thus Abraham, our father, made efforts in this, as did King Solomon, as told in Yalkut Shimoni. King Solomon loved women from the Goyim in order to make them into Gerim and to bring them under the wings of the Shekhinah. And the Chasim Sefer wrote that Rabbi Yehuda held that there is a mitzvah to make Gerim. Behold, there is a way to explain the distinction of Ger Toshev in 2 different ways. A complete Ben Noach, only concerning known Dinim, as his din equal to Israel, because he is from the Chassidim Olam, as it is written by the Rambam. He is categorically removed from being classified as a Ben Noach, and even though he has not entered into Klal Yisrael. And this is similar to the slave. And were it not for the revelation of the verse that obligates them into the mitzvahs like a woman, he would be exempt from everything because he still hasn't entered into Klal Yisrael. And even though he already went out from the distinction of Ben Noach, and thus we see from the language of Rabbeinu Gershon, Krisis 9a, that wrote the Ger Toshev is a matter of ksat gerus, partial conversion. And thus we see from the language of the Rashba that wrote concerning the Ger Toshev, and these were his words, that a ger who becomes ger is like a newborn child. Behold, that this principle of a ger who becomes ger is like a newborn child also refers to becoming a Ger Toshev. And this can only be understood if we say that he is removed from being a Ben Noach. And thus we see from the language of the Taz, who wrote that a Ger Toshev is one who is categorically removed from being considered belonging to the nations. And if we say that he is already removed from the category of Ben Noach, then there is no difficulty that only concerning a Ben Noach is there no mitzvah to make him into a ger, for gerim are harsh on Israel like overgrowth or a skin disease. But one who has already left the category of Ben Noach and only has entered into Klal Yisrael, it is appropriate the mitzvah to make them into gerim. Conclusion. We see that there is a unanimous agreement from the poskim that Ger Toshav is a mitzvah that one can engage in today. The wisdom of how to do so is clear as well. We are to spread the 7 laws of Noah, Rambam Ibid, and should any Ben Noach find themselves in a new territory beyond the category of Ben Noach, from having fully left idolatry, rejecting shituf, and fully keeping the 7 laws, all under personal acceptance with the proper intention of having been commanded by the Torah of Moses, directed to the God of Israel, then it is a mitzvah to make gerim, and the fear of gerim are harsh unto Israel no longer applies. Such a person would have effectively become a self-made Ger Toshav, and a Jew would then be able to do a mitzvah of making gerim. This is called a partial conversion. And the Rashba states that all language of a ger who becomes ger, a ger shemizgayer, applies to both the full conversion, ger tzedek, and a partial conversion, ger toshav. In short, we are commanded to emulate Abraham, our father, where appropriate in mainstream halacha, as evidenced by a unanimous view among all Torah sages. The only dispute that takes place is when a source speaks of either a Ben Noach or a Ger Toshav. The consensus view is that a Ben Noach should not be encouraged directly into a status of Ger Toshav, while a self-made Ger Toshav may be subject to a halachic action of making gerim according to the halacha. For this, the Torah has warned us 46 times to not taunt the ger and to make sure to love the ger. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. What do you think? Where are you guys at? Hello. Any comments, 1s or 2s or 3s or 4s? Hello. So we have our Noahide ideology that is basically a poor linguistic plight. And that world is saying that they never heard of ger. And the ger is converts, type 1. Then we just read this, and it says, yeah, there's Noahide, there's Noahism, and they really shouldn't be ger, and they're not ger. Not a problem. But what happens when our Noahide friends actually believe in Noahism, despite its man-made concoctions, and they take it serious, and they start to remove klippah, and they take the 7 laws so serious, they drop their religions along the way. And now they don't believe in any avodah zarah. They believe in non-idolatry like Israel and Sinai. They don't even practice shituf. So the way the Torah works for that individual, let's call it 1 out of 10 Noahides, he is a ger in his own space. We have a mitzvah from the Torah to then properly make them ger. Because they're not seeking salvation or refuge in Israel. That's a Ger Toshav of Jubilee that doesn't exist today. what we find is that there are two shittas in Avodah Zarah 64b. The way we paskin, what is a ger toshav of the highest level, 7 laws of Noah. Then there's another one that says the first opinion that they reject idolatry with Kabbalah. One could make the argument that the 7 law ger, as we mentioned in Dinim previously, is the Jubilee ger, i.e. all 7 laws with Kabbalah. But the non-idolatry Kabbalah, and plus his own personal 7 law observance, that is in existence of all time. And we have a mitzvah to make them ger on that level. Because on that level, they're not seeking the salvation of the 7 law halachic one, ger toshav Jubilee. It's a different Kabbalah. Understand that. The based in of Jubilee is a different based in, different Kabbalah from Kabbalah of not worshiping Shituf. So when a Noahide who is allowed to engage in Shituf and can be a Shabbos Goy takes upon themselves, without a command to do so, to, in their own space, reject idolatry like Israel at Sinai. And that's the covenant they attach to. Kabbalistically, you call it the 4th house of Israel. David HaMelech brings it into Tehillim. Rav Hutner brings it in Pachan Yitzchak from Machshava. And as we wrote on the blog, the 4th house of Israel, halachically, the non-holy 4th house, is a halachic issue for marriage which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Why is it an unholy house? Did you read the article? Because the marriages that exist in the 4th unholy house are not holy marriages. A mamzer is not permitted in the holy congregation. Ado, does that mean a mamzer is not holy? Does that mean a mamzer is not holy? Wrong. A mamzer is holy. Remember, the 4th house of Israel is not saying that the citizens of the 4th house, that is not to say that they are not holy. Type 1. It has nothing to do with them, with their souls, or with their levels of holiness. Type 1 again. I don't want you to mess this up anymore. I understand people are not getting this, and it's going to get clear real quick right now. What happens is there's something called marriage. Type 1 if you've ever heard of marriage. The holiest marriage that can happen in Torah is a priest, because God said so. A priest is in a world of the most holiness. Type 1. And beneath that, a lesser holiness of marriage is the Levitical marriage, the Levite. Type 1. And beneath that is a marriage of the Israelite. It is a lesser degree of holiness. Type 1. How do we know that? Because a Cohen can only marry certain kinds of people, and a Levi patriarchal situation confers Levitical status on his child, making it holy, i.e. the marriage. Type 1. The marriage has to be holy in order to produce a Levite. You understand that? A child produced from a holy marriage. Do you understand the difference between a holy marriage and holy people? 1 or 2. As the Midrash and the Talmud states, even a low person, but becomes a Talmud Chacham, becomes the level of a Kohen Gadol. Have you ever heard that expression before? A non-Jew that learns Torah is like a Kohen Gadol. That's why. It's saying the personal holiness comes from where you're at in your connection with God. It has nothing to do with what house you're in. The house is a unique holiness to itself for marriage. If a low-grade Kohen is compared to a high-grade Ger in Torah, who's holier? Type your answer. Who's holier? Type your answer. Ger. That does not mean the Ger enters the priestly house for marriage. Different holiness, different deal altogether. Addo, can I get a 1 or a 2? So you have what's called the fourth non-holy house of Israel, type 1. And in that house, we'll call it Gerim and Mumsers, type 1. A Mumser may not enter the holy congregation. So who would a Mumser marry? Type your answer. Who would a Mumser marry? Type your answer. A Ger or a Mumser. Now, you have something called a Ger, who's in the non-holy fourth house. Can a Ger marry into holiness? Can a Ger marry into holiness? Yes, he can. How does he do it, Jacques? How would a Ger who wishes to have a holy marriage, how would they do that? How would a Ger enter into a holy house of marriage? Joins the holy kahal. Jacques, are you saying that we allow converts or Ger to enter the holy kahal? Is that possible? It's possible. So a Ger can choose if he enters into a holy kahal or if he chooses to remain in a non-holy kahal. Is that correct? I.e., the Ger who wishes to remain in a non-holy kahal, he wants to do non-holy things or have them available. It's called oscillation and noga. You could even say a Ger in the non-holy kahal wishes to keep Shabbos like a Ger versus keep Shabbos like a Jew, which is affected by the marriage. Type 1 or 2. And this is not a contest or who's higher, all right? Because if you want to get into the contest, then we can say the priest has a higher Shabbos than the Levi. It's not a contest. So if two Ger got married, where do they get married? In the fourth non-holy house of Israel. Does that mean the two Gerim are not holy, Jacques? That's exactly what it is, Justin Becker. It is a freedom. It is a heter. You know what a heter is? Remember that from the meat eating class? A heter is permission. The Ger have permission to exist in a non-holy house. It is not a degradation or a punishment. It is permission to enter into that house, either for the sake of marrying a Mamzer Mamzeris, for the sake of marrying Gerim, for the sake of Klipas Noga, for the sake of oscillation, for a lack of desire to marry a Jew. A Ger comes to the holy house by marriage. Yes. Because they desire to marry a Jewish person and have a Jewish child. If the Ger does not want to have a Jewish child and a Jewish marriage, there's no reason to be in that house. How many of you like money? Would anybody like it if I gave you $5,000? Anyone? Anyone? $5,000 I'm offering. Okay, we all agree we like money. Then why don't you guys go quit your lives, move to New York City, and work on Wall Street? I promise you, if you move to New York, if you have half a brain, you can make a lot of money there. So go move to New York and get your $5,000. Any takers? You don't like it that much. Exactly. Exactly. If you really want money that bad, then move to New York and you'll have money. Torah in Judaism is priorities. Some people want a Jewish holy marriage. Some people want peaceful marriages. Some people don't. Some people want to just barely be married and barely procreate. Type 1 or 2, Edo. It is priorities. Where are your priorities? I promise you, the ger who remains in the non-holy house with that heter and liberty and freedom will have more access to the Eibishter, Hashem, the King of Kings, than the convert who ran there to be Jewish and marry Jewish. 1 or 2. So it's a trade-off, right? Do you want to have a Jewish Shabbat and make Kiddush like a Jew? Or do you want to have a fun Shabbat and talk to God? It's not a this or that or better or worse, right? It's just you being you. Do you want the holy house or not holy house? It sounds like a competition. I'm aware of that, but it's not. Holiness is not like a trophy to attain. If it was, then everyone would try to be a priest, would they not? And there's no Inyan of trying to make it to priesthood. I am a Cohen. Do you guys see me lording around saying, oh, I am holier than thou. I am holier than all of you. You are beneath me. I am a priest and you are beneath me. Ha, ha, ha. It is good to be a holy priest. I am so holy. Do you ever hear me saying that? No, you don't. Why not? Why don't you hear me lauding about my holiness? Because it's not the kind of thing that you loud about or praise or it's competition, right? The kind of marriage that I have that's holy is I don't marry a divorcee. If you are so holy that you don't want to marry a divorcee, then you enter the holy house, so to speak. Do you really think that my not marrying a divorcee makes me better than you? Exactly, Justin. The fact that I cannot marry a divorcee makes me better than you. Therefore, it is good to be a priest. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Right? So the Levi who marries, he's better than you too, because his son can wash my hands in the temple. Is that a reason to brag and be better? Wow, I made a Levitical child. He is better because he washes the priest's hands. All we're saying is, if you were conceived in the holy house of Levi, you have a job to wash someone's hands. Do you understand that? I.e., you don't plan which house you go into. You just end up in the house that you're at. And it's a plateau. It's not a pyramid. Understood? Can we move on from this? I am well aware that it sounds like a pyramid in competition. Is it absolutely clear that it is not a competition in a pyramid? Addo? Good. Okay, so now, I don't even know why we mentioned the fourth holy house at this point. Why did we mention that? How did we get on the fourth holy house? Or unholy house? Making converts or making ger, because the ger can join. Yeah, wait, hold on. Back me up a little bit. Join what? The covenant. That's right. Yes. The ger attaches to Israel called the Nilva ger. And for those that don't understand why we use the word ger with Nilva based on Isaiah 56:3, because you did not learn the sources well enough, Isaiah 14:1, all of the classic commentators compare 14:1 that mentions the Nilva ger with Isaiah 56:3, the Ben Hanecher Nilva. We do expect our critics to look it up and play by the rules of classic commentaries and classic Torah, classic kosher Torah, and not making it up, not guessing, not looking it up, and relying in English. The Torah is not written in English. It's written in Lashon HaKodesh. Can I get a 1, please? And I'm going to throw a quick little jab here. I like to throw this little jab. You know how Christians like to go into the Torah, in the Old Testament, so to speak, and find Jesus everywhere, right? Oh, look, there was a donkey by a righteous prophet. That must have been Jesus, right? Type 1. Oh, look, an angel came and spoke to a man. That must have been Jesus. Okay, so we see that in the Ger world as well, in the anti-Ger world. Since the whole world obviously should convert to Judaism, not, right? Since the whole world will be Jewish and convert to Judaism, therefore every Ger reference must be convert. So Ger is convert. Type 1, if you understand what I'm saying. Since the whole world obviously will be Jewish, we don't want any goyim around, then everybody will convert, so every prophecy about Ger is obviously convert, and we need not get into the Hebrew. It's obvious in English. Ger is convert. Why is that not true? If Mashiach came today, what would be of the nations? Ger Toshav. Then you would say, well, when only Mashiach will only come when the whole world's Jewish. That is a lie. That is not written. It is not true. Anyone that knows how Mashiach will come about from the writings of the sages, that is a Masorah that we hold by. There's no such thing as the great Sanhedrin that people want to say. It is a fiction. Even though the Sanhedrin did exist, there is something called Torah Shabbal Peh, the oral Torah, and the writings of the sages, which we adhere to. And there's a way and a Masorah of how redemption will be. And in that tradition, it does not say everyone will convert to Judaism. However, in the prophets and the sages, the word Ger does exist. And if you look into it very clearly, you will see Ger sometimes might mean convert. Most of the time, it doesn't. Then you look at the fourth house of Israel article that until there's a temple, all converts are not full converts because they have not brought a sacrifice. Therefore, they're the Ger Tzedek non-Izrach, i.e. they are Ger in the fourth house that are allowed to marry a Jew. Because today the Ger Toshav does not marry a Jew. That does not mean the Ger Toshav doesn't exist. As we stated, Avodah Zarah 64b, there are two opinions and they are not contradicting. It is not a machlokes. There's actually not a machlokes in Ger. There's just a lot of different kinds of Ger and many scenarios of Ger. Are you trying to be a Jubilee Ger Toshav? Probably not. It's not a Jubilee time. But you can be a non-Shituv Ger Toshav. That exists today. And it's forbidden to use him as a Shabbos Goy. Then you would say, how did we make this Ger if we don't make Gerim? Well, we do make Gerim. When a Noahide advances and he rejects Avodah Zarah, akin to Israel at Sinai, he is attached to Israel. His covenant of 7 is attached to the Israel version of the 7, see Rav Hutner Pachad Yitzchak. And he does his 7 mitzvahs like a Jew does his 7 mitzvahs. The Jew has 7 mitzvahs? Yes, it's a chiddush. A Jew's not allowed to steal. Type 1, Jacques. Did you know that? Wow, a Jew's not allowed to do adultery. Wow, what a shock. So the Ger Toshav, Bizman Hazeh, he does his 7 like a Jew does his 7. Wow, you mean I don't eat the limb of a living animal? No, you don't. Therefore, the Dinim of the 7 laws, they are allowed to engage in Dinei Yisrael and Dinei Torah. See the Lubavitcher Rebbe Parshas Mishpatim Chelek Lamed Aleph about the Ger Toshav. Does the Ger have to go before 3 rabbis to be official in the 7? It is preferable because now pay attention, John. The Noahide that becomes Ger obviously is Ger by his own Kabbalah with God. We are talking about a Jew who has a mitzvah to make Gerim. So you have your own mitzvah, and I have my own mitzvah. You'll say, well, we only have 7 mitzvahs. You're making an 8th mitzvah. No, we're not. Read Sanhedrin 74b and 75a. Properly fulfilling the 7 laws does not make an 8th mitzvah. It's called properly doing the 7 mitzvahs. When you've done that, and I recognize you, and I have an option to either give you meat or sell you meat, it is my responsibility to recognize that you're a Ger Toshav B'zman hazeh. At that time, if I do my mitzvah, I can help you make Kabbalah. I don't make you, and I don't have to give you Kabbalah, but if we all agree, and you're a part of the community, whatever that means, you want to recognize me, and I recognize you, and we all are in good relations, then we can make a based in of 3, and there can be a proper Kabbalah. Do you understand that? 1 or 2? That is my mitzvah. That is not your mitzvah. That is my mitzvah to help you. Your mitzvah to help yourself is to do the 7 properly and reject shituf and be good with God, have your own Kabbalah, receive your own reward. And if at that point you want to go further and progress and have more Torah and Jews in your life, then it may be in your best interest to make a Kabbalah. But that's only if you want to, and the Jews want to make Gerim, and it just happens. Right? I don't have to, you don't have to, but we both can. It's called Rishus. It is not an 8th mitzvah. It is not mandatory. It is a Rishus, an optional positive mitzvah, type 1. All right. So now we read the article written by Rabbi David Katz. And everybody in Noahism refers to the Rambam. The Rebbe of Lubavitch refers to the Rambam. Pretty much everybody refers to the Rambam to the definition of Noahism. Type 1. I will now read you Noahism. Hilchos Malachim, Chapter 8, Halachas 10 and 11. Ready? V'chein sivan Moshe Rabbeinu mepi hagvora lechof es kol bayei ha'olam lekabel kol mitzvah shenitztave noyech v'chol mi shelo kibel yaharik v'hamekablen oisin hu anikra ger toisha b'kol makom tzarich lekabel alav ifnei shloisha chaverim v'chol mekabel alav lamul v'avru alav shnayim eser chodesh v'lo mal hari zeh kemin sheba oimis kol mekabel sheva mitzvahs v'nizhar lasoitan hari zeh mechasidi yom ha'olam v'yesh lo chelek li'olam haba v'hu shekabel oisim v'yasa oisim mibnei shetziva v'yen HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Torah v'hodiyanu al yedei Moshe Rabbeinu shebnei Noach mikoyden nitzavu behin aval im asim mipnei hechra das ein ze ger toishev ve'einu mechasidi yom ha'olam ela mechachmeim. Ready? Now you will notice I skipped the entire beginning of Halacha 10 because I told you we were going to read about Noahism. Now that I read that, I'm going to read you in Hebrew the first part of 10. Moshe Rabbeinu lo enchil ha'Torah v'mitzvahs ela liYisrael. Shenema Moshe kehilas Yaakov l'chol ha'roitzel yizgayer mishara umas. Shenemar kachem kegeir. Aval mi shelo ratza ein koifinoso l'kabel Torah v'mitzvahs. V'chein ziva Moshe Rabbeinu mibi yagavayra l'chol mizgobel yolam l'kabel gol mitzvah shenetzav l'noyach v'kol mi shelo yagavol ha'arig. Ready for the English? Moses, our rabbi, did not give the Torah and mitzvahs except to Israel. Are you aware that there was a Sinai? Yes or no? Sinai existed. Hello. And Israel stood at Sinai. Is that correct? And there are three holy houses of Israel, we'll say, correct? Kayin, Levi, Israel. And there are goyim in the world, idolaters that are not Israel. Nachri, the definition, not Israel. Hello. And the nations did not go to Sinai. They rejected the Torah. Type 1. Are we Christian and believe in original sin and we needed salvation from a shituf God? Type 2. So then if there's not this tainted original sin, can the nations come out of Klippa and remove the label of nations? Is that possible? So to speak, Cain doing tshuva? Is it possible? So you're saying the Umas Ha'olam can stop being idolaters and reclaim the Torah of Sinai, part of the covenant? So you have to convert to Judaism to do that, and you get out of Klippa by converting, and then you're Israel, and then you have Torah. Is that right? No? Why? Why not? Makes sense to me. You should convert to get out of Klippa, which for the people that say that don't even believe in Klippa because they don't understand Kabbalah, but we'll pretend they do. What else could you possibly be? Are you saying that there's another house that's not Cohen Levi Israel? Is there another reality? Is there another Metzias? Can you exist anywhere that's not Jewish and non-idolater? You can. From the mouth of God we hear too. It's called Ger. And we know that there's a Nilva Ger through history. There are those that attach to Israel. They are Ki'ilu, a fourth house of Israel, as King David mentions. Everyone's aware of the King David fourth house. It's not the same as the non-holy house, Edo. Type 1. And you can read Rashi there. He says the Gerim. And we know this from all of the works of Kabbalah, the God-fearers, correct? So now, if we assume these people can attach to Israel, Shenamar Marsha Kehilos Yaakov. But wait a minute. There's a verse in Dvarim that says that this is only given to the congregations of Jacob. By the way, Jacques, what's the language there? Morasha Kehilat Yaakov. What is that word, Kehilat? What is that word, Kehilat? The houses of Yaakov. Look at that. The Kahal. Well, Rabbi Katz didn't make it up. What a shock. So there are Kahal, many Kahal to Yaakov. Is that true? And they are Cohen and Levi and Israel. Would there be a fourth Kahal to Yaakov? And notice it doesn't say Yisrael. So when you look up the Ramban and all of the famous commentaries, what does it say there by Morasha Kehilat Yaakov? It brings our verses from Isaiah 56:3, 14:1, the Nilva Ger. So now it comes down to, is Ger convert or is Ger not convert? You can make the case that it's convert, but in Parshas Re'eh, give the meat to the Ger in your gate. So there are non-convert Gerim. Is the convert a Ben Necher? Ben HaNecher? No, he's not. We don't call converts uncircumcised. Sorry. So now we know that the Gerim can attach and receive Torah, and we have another proof. All that want to become Ger. Ulakol harotze lehit gayer. from the rest of the nations, as it says, kachem kager. Like y'all converted at Sinai, all future converts will convert. So is the Rambam saying you have to convert to Judaism? Hello? It says like y'all converted, so too they'll convert. So apparently you have to convert to get Torah and mitzvahs. Why not? Because when you look it up and you stop guessing, it says by kachem kager that it's talking about becoming ger. If, however, a ger wants to convert like Jews did at Sinai, then they have to bring what, Jacques? Oh, 3 things. The offering, sprinkling of blood, and a mikvah. Correct? 1 or 2. Is the Rambam saying here you have to do the 3 conversion things to convert like a ger did at Sinai? Or is it saying before there's a conversion just to become ger? Because if Rambam wanted you to convert, he would have brought the full piece of Torah that says you have to do the 3 things to convert. But notice he doesn't bring the 3 things. Why? Because you can convert to convert or ksat geris or lehit gayer to ger toshav. Thank you. And aval mi shelo ratza, but someone who doesn't want to become ger, we don't make him ger to accept Torah and mitzvahs. We don't proselytize. That's the Rambam. Not for convert ger and not even for ger toshav. Why? Harsh on Israel like thorns or gerim. We don't go into Akum Noahide land and make people become ger. All the more so, we don't make them Jewish. However, if they want to become ger, they may. And if a ger wants to convert, he will. Jacques, 1 or 2. And the Torah tells us how a ger could become a convert, or how a ben Noah could become a ger. And then the Rambam says, and thus Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded by the mouth of God, Mepia Gvora, Jacques. And what do we hear about Mepia Gvora? From the mouth of God we heard too. To press all people in the world to accept all the mitzvahs that were commanded by Noach, and all that do not accept them, they are killed. So we have a mitzvah to make Noahides in the world, to bring Akum out of Klippa and make them Noahide. And the one that makes Kabbalah from them, what happens when a Noahide makes Kabbalah, Addo? What happens when a Noahide makes Kabbalah? He's called Ger Toshav. And in the land of Israel and Jubilee? No. The Rambam says in every place. And how do you do it, John Pring? He would need to have Kabbalah before 3 friends and all the Makabal Alav Lamo. Now, what if he then says, hey, I'm going to convert Rabbi Katz? Great. So I guess you'll be getting circumcision. Yeah, I'll get right on that, Rabbi Katz. I'm going to get circumcision. But in the meantime, I'm thinking about converting. The new status by French people that don't understand ger. Okay. So you claim that you want to get circumcised. 12 months go by and he did not circumcise. Are you a ger? A convert? Ger Toshav? No, you're a Nachri. This is like a heretic in the nations. He did not collect his money and he did not pass go. Next halacha, all that accept the 7 laws and are careful to do them. Notice it says Hamakabel with Kabbalah, not Noahide. This is from the Chassidim Olam. Notice the Rambam in Serebia 14:7 calls the Ger Toshav also Chassidim Olam. And he has a portion of the world to come. So there are those critics out there that are Rambam rationalists, but then when the Rambam says that he has a portion of the world to come, they question it saying, well, we don't know if a ger has a portion of the world to come. Guess what? We do. So it comes down to, is the Rambam right or is the Rambam wrong? Well, maybe you could say the Rambam's wrong, but then why are you claiming to adhere to every word of the Rambam? So either we have chosen to agree with the Masorah, and we agree with the entirety of the Rambam, and if the Rambam seems wrong, it means you didn't look it up deep enough, and you didn't go deep enough. The Rambam is cutting and pasting the Olam Haba quote, by the way, from the Talmud. The Talmud is from the Chazal. Chazal received the Masorah. So there you have a Ger taking Kabbalah, getting Olam Haba. And by the way, if you want to say a Noahide then does not have Olam Haba, we took care of that in the Soloveitchik work. Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik proves absolutely that a Noahide, even a good person, has the world to come. Type 1, Jock. And this is that he accepted them and to do them because God commanded it in the Torah. And you'll say, oh, but it doesn't say that there are 7 laws anywhere in the Torah. We have an oral Torah for that, and we believe in the validity of the oral Torah, and we know how the oral Torah works. And he let it be known through Moshe Rabbeinu. How many of you have ever heard of Mara, the waters of Mara? Anyone hear the waters of Mara? Do we believe that they were Noahides that were upgraded to Ger, and they received the 7 laws plus the 3 higher ones? Yes, we do. So then the Torah does teach the 7 laws through Moses, correct? That were commanded to the Bnei Noach before then. But if he does them because of his own reasoning, he is not a Ger Toshav, and he's not from the Chassidim Olam. Rather, he did it from their own wisdom. So he's not even a Noahide. He is a smart non-Jew, believes in 7, to which Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik says he also has the world to come. That concludes the Rambam on the 7 laws Ger Toshav. Notice I said 7 laws Ger Toshav. The Lubavitcher Rebbe teaches 7 laws Ger Toshav. So there are 7 laws B'nai Noach, which is a Noahide who practices Noahism. And there's 7 laws Ger Toshav, which is Ger Toshav that attaches itself to Israel and is part of the covenant by elevating his 7 mitzvahs into the covenant of Israel. If he wants to convert into a covenant of 613, he may. If he wants to do more mitzvahs and go beyond, keeping his 7, there's never a command more than 7, but they are allowed to do any mitzvah from the Torah as long as they can, and they can even do it like the halacha. Rambam 10:10 and Hilchos Malachim, type 1. Then you say, but that Rambam is not saying that he can do Talmud Torah and Shabbos like a Jew. Guess what? No one said he can do Shabbos like a Jew. In fact, he can do Shabbos, just not like a Jew. Type 1. So that took care of that little matter. And he does not have a mitzvah to learn the whole Torah like a Jew. He has a mitzvah to learn Torah through the 7 mitzvahs. Any Torah he learns beyond that is appropriate to his avodas Hashem. So guess what, boys and girls? It all works out quite nicely. Type 1 or 2. And now we go into Midrash Shlomo to finish today's shir. How many of you have ever heard of Mashiach ben Yosef and the belief of Mashiach ben Yosef? And that's what we're experiencing in the world. The Vilna Gaon says that Avraham Avinu is one of the clearest examples of Mashiach ben Yosef. And this is a big patch for the Messianics. You don't need to go to Jesus to look at Mashiach ben Yosef. There was a much better Mashiach ben Yosef that didn't finish the job, and his name was Avraham Avinu. Jesus doesn't need to come into the story at all. In fact, the Vilna Gaon says there have been many examples of Mashiach ben Yosef in every generation that have not finished the job. You don't need to go into Shituf to do anything. So the question is, how does Mashiach ben Yosef live and not die? And the answer is, just like Abraham called in the name of God, and he called in the name of God according to every creation. And he began to legayer gerim and enter them under the wings of the Shekhinah. Remember what we said about making gerim? Why do we have a mitzvah to make gerim? To be like Abraham and bring them under the wings of the Shekhinah. Remember that? So apparently, how does Mashiach ben Yosef work and Kol Torah work? By making gerim. Why would we want to make non-Jewish, non-convert gerim? In order that there should be the power of Shefa, as it will be promised that even heavily weighted on the eyes of everybody in the world and make your name great amongst the nations. Therefore, God promised him, I will make your name great, and all the families of the world will be blessed by you. And the Elenu prayer, we pray for the nations to recognize God. That is the sign of the Gula. So how do you fulfill the Gula? Make gerim. Gerim creates Shefa, to make more gerim. Ultimately, to make God's name great. And to complete the mission of Mashiach ben Yosef that began with Abraham, and it has continued onward. Abraham received from Shem, Shem from Noah, Noah from Adam, Adam from God, repairing the world until ultimately the Torah is accepted. And no, you don't have to convert. You do, however, have to be attached to Israel. You have to accept the Torah. You have to have the true wisdom as it's commanded in the Torah. Blah, 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 blah. I.e., how do we get the process going? Once again, making gerim. We have a mitzvah to make gerim, both in Kabbalah, and in Makshava, and in Halacha, and in Midrash, and presently, and historically, and through Tanakh, and through the Talmud, and through the Rishonim, in Halacha, everywhere. Thank you for listening. You know the rap how it goes. Be well, live and prosper.